Call the meeting to order of the Oxford Historic Preservation Commission. Welcome, commissioners, through Zoom. We're glad to have you here, and the three of us are up front. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion that we approve tonight's agenda?
I so moved, unless there's any discussion.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Next item is approval of the minutes from the December 21st meeting of the commission. Are there any comments about the minutes or corrections, notations that anybody would like to make? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the December 21st meeting?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a couple of seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Kate, you all will have to let me know if we're moving too quickly and you don't know who made a motion or a second. I'll slow down and make sure we know who that is.
How about if you're virtual and you're making a motion or a second, you say your name?
Okay, so going forward, those people making motions, please identify yourself by name before you make the motion. We've got three cases. One is two structures. The other is, which are, I think, rental structures, and the other two are single-family homes. Kate, you want to set up?
Before we do that, let's discuss a new meeting date for our February meeting.
Okay.
Because it is going to be on President's Day. So in the past, we've done what we did today and moved it to Thursday at 5. That works for staff. The Courthouse Square Commission sometimes moves theirs to noon, if anyone is interested in that. But I know some people have work, and that can be more difficult for citizens to attend. So we would be moving it from February 15th to February 18th. Does anyone?
Recommendation that we reschedule our February meeting to February 18th. Do any commissioners have any problem with that? If not, we will reschedule the meeting for February the 18th at 5 o'clock.
Yep, great.
Here.
I think that only happens twice a year, doesn't it?
It does. Every January and February, we do this whole rigmarole. So, okay. So we can move on.
Yeah,
to this.
Kate, if you would present the staff prepared remarks about our first case, which is number 608 by Edie. I'm sorry, I'm having I'm having vision issues, so I can't read very well. Conkerton, thank you.
Sorry, I'm trying to share my screen. There we go. So that we can look at the plans. Okay. All right, so you should see a photo of the subject property here. The applicant requests approval to build 2 3-bedroom residential units onto the existing lot. Additionally, the existing shed, which you guys can see to the left of the house, would be removed. That shed is listed as not contributing. No changes are proposed to the existing contributing resource. The new 2-story buildings would sit on the rear portion of the lot, which I'm sure you guys saw on the site plan. Due to the topography and grade of the lot, they will not be highly visible from the street. Before these buildings could be constructed, the applicant must receive a special exception for a residential common interest development from the Planning Commission. This proposal has not yet been reviewed or discussed by that commission, so they're coming to you guys first on the design, and then they'll have to get that use approved later. The proposed new buildings are composed of fiber cement board and batten style siding with some areas of painted brick veneer, metal railings, and a metal roof. And staff did find that the design of the proposed new buildings meets the recommendations of the Oxford Design Guidelines for New Construction. And Edie Conkerton is here. Do you want to come up, Edie, to present?
Proposed buildings are a story and a half each. They're going to be buried fairly low on the property, and there'll be 3 bedrooms. So, yeah, the property does, and what we're working on right now is getting the 2 drives down. I have a couple of things.
Yeah, let me ask them if we can switch to the overhead view.
Just a couple little analysis I did that shows how little you will see from the street, if y'all are interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd like, if you've got something, I
Okay.
think we'd like to see it, please.
Okay, because on this sheet, we show this is the existing house and the street. Well, on this one, you can see the existing residence in the street, and the part shaded in would actually be what you would see from the street without landscaping. And we're working on our landscaping plan.
A question, in the photograph we saw earlier, there was some sort of separate building to the left.
That's an awful shed.
Is it to be taken down?
Yes.
Okay.
It was put up at some point, and it has no contributing, it has no value at all.
Hey, Jack, could you ask Edie to speak into the mic, please?
Sorry about that. I was
Thanks.
handing over drawings. This was the conceptual plan, so that we're planning a good bit of green space behind the existing residence and between it and the 2 new small houses.
And Edie, what are the 2, I can't read the 2 squares that are here on the
The 2
limits? Is that a black and white?
squares-
Do we have any idea what that noise is?
I think somebody needs to mute, I think that the participants need to mute themselves, because I think that's some sort of feedback from online.
Yeah.
If the other commissioners would mute your computer until you have an opportunity to talk, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Jack, I have a question, please.
Yes,
Yes.
Camp.
That appears to be a different plan from the one we were submitted. Is that correct?
This was the original conceptual plan. The one you were submitted is this pared down.
Which one are you proposing?
They're essentially the same plan,
Well, with
but this one,
The one,
Well, this one, I don't see a driveway on the first one.
right, because the engineers are working on that, and this is where the drive is going to be.
On this particular second plan, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
May I ask the square footage of the 2 that you're building?
Yes. I can see with my glasses. They're under 2,000.
And one more question.
Yes.
When I looked at this property, I had to weave in and out of vehicles that are parked on the street. Is that gonna be an issue for construction? Or are they just all gonna concentrate in the backyard?
It's going to concentrate in the backyard, and we're also taking, as you can see, the front yard is going to stay as is with the 2 big oaks. And I think on what is the south side of the property,
Where the existing
where the existing shed is, we'll have spot to work, to set up and work.
It just really was difficult for traffic.
I was on that street one day and there were cars parked. It was early on a Sunday morning. Cars were parked in the street with the doors open. So, yeah.
I think that's known as an abandoned car, but go ahead.
Well, yeah.
No, I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with the project. I was just,
You're right.
if you had thought,
Yeah, because we're gonna have to contain it pretty much on the site, the construction.
Hey, I can't hear Diane either. Are you speaking into the mic, Diane?
yes and no, it's the mask camp.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll try to be louder.
All right.
Go ahead, Ms. Conkerton.
Do y'all have any other questions? It's really very simple. We've tried to keep the buildings as small as possible and with enough, I guess, nothing bulky.
I have a question about the relocated parking. Could that be pushed back at all? That area? Because there's a section of the guidelines about, I understand it's not in front of the house, but the part of the guidelines about paving recommends
Yes.
this behind the property. So if you
Yeah.
push back at all, I think that would help.
Okay, and
Keep it
Jeff
away from that
Williams
building.
is doing,
Yeah.
Jeff Williams is doing the actual plan. This was my concept.
So do you think that when you guys get ready to do the site plan process, either administratively or coming back to the commission, we would need to
If there's
review-
anything, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming that that's gonna be located where, along that spot, it may be 10 feet farther down than what's showing on this plan.
Okay, so maybe we could approve the design of the buildings and then any site changes
That would
come
be,
back.
yeah, that would be great,
Okay.
yeah.
Does that make sense to you guys? If you move to approve the buildings, of course.
Sure.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, this is Camp. What is the plan for the original house on the site? Has it been restored?
It is going to be fixed up. The inside is pretty much just what it is, but it'll be painted, no color change, nothing like that.
No plans to really restore the original house on the site? Improve it?
We can certainly look at that if that's what you would like. We don't have plans now to do anything to it other than fix it up.
When you say fix it up, you mean,
Fix up what's
besides
there.
painting, but taking care of any maintenance issues?
Kate,
Yes.
could we see a picture, that picture we saw earlier of the existing house, please?
It was an interesting house.
I know.
Yeah, and it definitely could use a little bit of love.
Yes.
Edie, hey, Edie,
Yes.
Edie, this is Lance. Is this,
There it is.
on South 16th, is this zoned like a single-family residence?
Yeah, it's zoned single-family residence. This can occur with the special exception we've applied for and are working on now. This is actually across the street from, directly across the street from two developments that are multiple houses. And doubles, and I actually have a drawing that shows the scale of these houses compared to the ones across the street.
Okay. When were those approved? Or is that in our district, historic district?
That's in the historic district, but that's been there. I don't know that it was the historic district when those were approved.
Yeah.
I don't think it was.
Let me give you this.
Lance, could I follow up on your question?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah, so that's where my concern is. I think one of the things that we have to think about, one of the reasons our commission was formed was to prevent things like that occurred across the street.
Right.
And simply because they're there now doesn't mean that we should continue that same thing. And I feel like that the structure that there is now is the historic structure and is a contributing resource. And to me, it would be more important for that particular resource to be renovated and made to look really good and great, rather than adding additional rental property and multifamily property, which is one of the things that our commission was formed to try to really take a look at more carefully. So, to me, I think we're putting the cart before the horse here. And I'm worried that by approving multifamily behind this house, we're setting ourselves up for the applicant coming back later to demo this house.
No, that I can tell you is not going to happen.
Well, I appreciate that, Edie, but we don't have any guarantee on that.
Right.
Camp, I certainly agree with what you just stated, and what concerns me is what you just stated, but also, is this going to be a trend? Are we going to start piling houses, rentals behind houses that have large back lots? Are we going to be starting, is that going to start a trend all over the city, so to speak?
Well, it's not going to start a trend. It's already all up and down this block.
Well,
and over.
I would like to say that entire street is rentals.
Yeah.
It's college kids. But I wonder, Camp, if there's not another way for us to look at this. There are a lot of times where a guest house will be approved and people move into that and then build the main house. If this structure, these two structures are small enough, they can't really hold multi-families.
No.
So I'm wondering if by doing this, in this instance, doesn't allow the property owner to get funds to properly redo the main house. And, that's another way to kind of look at it.
And that's kind of part of the goal of this, is to keep the main house functioning and, do what we have to do now to improve it, but at some point come back and, make sure that it is, I guess, a viable contributing resource.
What were you referring to when you said the plan was to fix it up?
That right now it's mostly maintenance and painting, and it needs a lot right now as far as that goes.
Aren't there two pretty wonderful, single-family homes right next to this house with a picket fence
Well,
that aren't rentals?
no, what I saw to the south was really,
If you go, you know, you
there
can
newer
use,
ones down the way.
All the way down at the end of the block and across the street is one.
yeah, but right next door, I think there are a couple of single-family homes that have been maintained and kept up, and one has a really attractive picket fence.
It does.
Come back this way,
Okay.
come back the other way.
I did see that, but the majority.
You're correct, Camp. I think that Larry Overstreet at one time lived there. I don't know if he still does. But
Yeah, okay, go down that way, please, and to the left. Right there, right next door.
What are we doing?
Oh, he's looking at my screen share, sorry.
What are we doing?
Can we put it back on?
I don't,
We're not getting
I
that
don't think
channel.
those are rentals.
I drove by today, this is there, and they look different today. It looks like there may be rentals there.
Oh, really?
It
Okay.
made me kind of sad. I mean, I'm just judging, I didn't know, it's just lots of stuff piled out front. You know, I wish they were, and I hope they are.
I hear you.
Street View's pretty outdated for this area.
It is.
Yeah, if you drive by, it's not quite the same.
No.
I have a question about the house. Is this a duplex or is it a one big house?
It's one big house.
Okay.
It's interesting that the sidewalk is split. It would make you think it's a duplex, wouldn't it?
Well, with
Right.
doors as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was at one
a
time.
duplex.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it certainly looks like it,
Does the owner of the property live there?
No, he does not. He's actually, he's supposed to be online right now, but I don't know that we let everybody in.
Yeah, there's no one in the lobby.
Oh no, online.
Yeah, he's.
Oh,
he's
okay.
not- Oh, sorry, it's a virtual lobby, yeah.
I wanna,
But no, he doesn't. He does live in Oxford, and he has quite a few properties in Oxford.
who is the owner of the house?
Brian Hayden.
I'd like to respond to Diane. I really appreciate your suggestion. I'm concerned that those are actually meant with the 3 bedrooms in each one of those 2 units. That's 6 additional bedrooms back there. I think they're not guest houses by any means. I think they're rental property, where, you know, each student can rent 1 bedroom.
I do agree with you, Cam.
Yeah,
What I was saying was it wasn't unlike having a guest house. But I do understand what you're saying, and that's probably
Okay.
the case. Yeah, I agree.
But,
Yeah.
sorry.
What are the issues that the planning commission, the planning group will be making a decision about?
Do you want So sorry, I don't have the other picture. So they will have to get the residential common interest development approved, which means that would, there are, okay, there's a series of standards for that. They haven't proposed it yet. So that would allow them to put these 2 other buildings on the lot that right now only has a single house. Right.
So is that sounds a lot like the question we are asking ourselves.
Right, and the planning commission will determine that. They wanted to come here and propose the design, and it isn't, you know, respectfully, that's mostly the planning commission's decision, but it is a part of the historic district whether or not there's gonna be, you know, a ton more units.
Well, is it part of our purview to let this question that we're discussing, multiple properties on, multiple structures on a single property, to let that question become a part of our decision to approve these 2 requests?
Yeah, I mean, really the purview of this commission is design, and the planning commission determines use, but at the same time, you have considered this in other circumstances, like with the reducing the number of units when they were proposing the Cedar Bend development, and with the Shaw House development and things like that.
Yes.
Hey, hello, hey, sorry. This is Brian
Yeah,
Hayden. Sorry,
I understand.
I've been on the meeting, but I couldn't get through. I'm the owner. I've been listening the entire time, so
Oh, Brian.
if y'all got some questions.
I'm sorry, would you identify yourself again, please?
Brian Hayden.
All right, and you're the owner of the property?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, well, welcome to the meeting, and please respond in any way that you will.
Did you hear any
Sure,
of
so,
Brian?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Could you hear any of the discussion?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
So, for one, I believe one of the members was making a comment about the neighboring properties. They are 100% rental properties, especially if you drive by them currently, because those photos that were shown were definitely dated. And so much so that even that front driveway that you commented about, the split that was previously a duplex back in whatever period of time it was, we've since made a circular gravel drive because they kept parking all over the driveway. So that's even dated even a couple years ago. But again, as far as the rentals themselves, yes, they're set up and designed to be 3 bedrooms because the city said that would be more favorable, of course, and it's more family style. But again, just to the same point that Edie commented, that the rest of that street, not like the ones closer to the square, that street is mostly college rentals. I mean, it just is, and even including the structures across the street. So that is, naturally going to be who's going to gravitate towards those, but we're trying to set them up so that it's not too, I guess too many people in one little small spot, I guess, for lack of better terms.
Thank you.
Hey, Kay, this is Lance. Since the Historic Preservation Commissions have been set up, have we ever approved something like this in a historic district where you're putting rentals behind rentals, or rentals behind what could be a single-family house?
Hi, Lance. Unfortunately, Ben is not here, and he's been here a lot longer than me. I've been here for a couple of years, and we haven't had a situation like this. So I can't answer that. I don't know.
Well, I've been here about six or 7 years. I don't remember recalling anything like that. And the county's been here longer than me, so
Yeah, I agree with Lance. I think this is a new thing for us.
yeah.
But the commission, I will say, has approved, accessory dwelling unit type, 1 unit buildings, which I understand is different, but they have approved that.
That goes back to the point that Diane was making. We've approved guest houses
Yeah.
behind a single-family home that also was kept as a single-family home in the historic district.
I live at the very end of that street, so I can shed some light on what comes in and out of there, and it is all rentals, and it's popping all the time, which is why I have a fence around my yard. But my question for you, Brian, is that house in particular does look a little rough for the wear. I just wanted you to expand upon what your plan was on is it just aesthetically making it nice, like coat of paint, or what are you thinking about for that contributing building?
I believe
You're saying as far as the existing structure?
the existing house.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm watching on the computer and my phone. Let me turn it down. Anyhow, we'd be willing to do whatever it is. We were told previously that we weren't allowed to do anything, even aesthetically, without going through HBC as it is. And so, again, just like Edie pointed out, like I do own several other properties around the square, and this is, to me, personally, my eyesore. Because it's an older home, obviously, and it doesn't look very beautiful from the curb, but it's in that little area that's nothing but kids, and so I just thought that we could never do anything. So, I mean, again, if it means, hey, we need to redo siding, we need to paint, we need to do whatever, I mean, I would like each of my properties to look favorable, because it makes it easier and it makes it better for everyone.
You know, this falls in the, for what it's worth, category. I don't think there's any distinction between rental property and single-family residences as far as our commission is concerned.
It's the design of the structure.
I think it's really the design and the scale of the structure, and if it fits in.
It is. Our job is to see if a new construction harmonizes with the neighborhood, with materials, style, not to replicate exactly something that's there, but to harmonize with what's there. But I think the commission is asking, you know, a question beyond that, and I think it's a legitimate one, and it sounds like it might be a precedent situation here with approving something more than a guest house, which we have approved in the past. You know, two straight out
two guest
rental
houses,
units
but
in a big backyard.
And then too, our concern is always the older building. We're very concerned about
Yes.
that. We just had a situation where one wasn't taken care of and didn't end well, and and we're always very conscious of this.
And I want to chime in here, if that's okay. I hope I'm not interrupting anybody, but am I?
No,
please go ahead.
Okay, well, I remember when we bought our house on South 11th Street, it was becoming a street like that. There were rental properties for college students all the way down. Ours was a rental property, too, for college kids. And it was, you know, we're a preservation committee, and I'd like to see the only homes preserved. And, I don't think it's an eyesore, because it looks like a 1900 farmhouse in town, and big great potential in keeping it part of the history and taking care of it. You know, I read that today, and I'm pretty sad about the state of the house.
I am sorry, I don't know if we could understand everything you were saying, Blair. I don't know, would you say it again, please?
Okay, our neighborhood on South 11th Street used to be a neighborhood like that. It wasn't gone that far, but our house was rental and had college students in it. And, you know, we sort of taking it back, taking back the neighborhood from college students. We don't take care of property. And, you know, they look pretty terrible. I think that's terrible. And so I see this house not as an eyesore, but potential. It's in rough shape, but it looks like a 1900 farmhouse to me. And I would love to see it dressed up and restored.
well,
Sure. So again, I mean, our effort, honestly, is to improve the entire curbside, the entire aesthetic as a whole. I mean, that's, you know, whether it starts there, ends there.
But you're not proposing that. You didn't propose that here.
well, Cam, that was you?
Yeah.
That was you saying that? If
Yeah.
Okay, here's my question. If we come back and with the proposal of working on the front of the house and restoring what we can and going through and coming up with a plan for that, would these two houses in the back be acceptable?
I don't know that we can play that game. I appreciate what you're saying, and it makes sense. If we do this, can you do that?
Well, no, I mean, I'm just.
Yeah, I think we've really
yeah.
got two different issues here. The status of the existing house is a legitimate issue, but that's really not what we are considering tonight.
Right.
I think our decision making tonight is really solely about the two houses, the new construction behind the existing house. So I think we're going to have to address that.
Well, may I
that
ask
issue.
this? Let me clarify this. So they still need to go to the planning board for what?
It's called a residential common interest development, and so the property is zoned to have one single-family home on the lot now, and they're requesting that development to allow for the two other
Okay,
living.
then can we not, as a commission, say, you know what, let's let another board respond to this, and then you can come back to us with what that board said, if they said yes or no. Because if they say no, then we've wasted our time in approving two. So can we not say, we'll keep this under advisement, you won't have to pay another fee when you come back for your second time? Let us hear whether they can do this or not.
Would that be acceptable to you?
Yes, we're working on that anyway,
I think Diane makes a good point. What we're here to decide would be the way the houses look.
Yes.
But we can't get to that because we're so concerned about this other issue that will have to be settled by
And
the
if there'll
planning.
be more than one house.
That's right. I mean, I believe that the question here is bigger than our purview, but once that's established or settled, then I think we can then concentrate on the details of the houses.
Yeah.
Hey, Jack.
Brian? Oh,
Jack?
Yes, Cam.
Hey, so our next case deals with exactly the same thing. That was the Cross's case over at the Shaw property. And they were turned down by the Planning Commission, and then they went to the Board of Aldermen and appealed it and had it approved to be able to build an additional house on a lot. But it was all done under the same purview of this new regulation, and I can't remember what you're calling it, Kate, that's allowing people to subdivide larger lots now.
Right. Yeah.
And so our next case, it's exactly the opposite of this one. They've already gotten approval, okay? And so to me, it's inconsistent. We've got one case that's coming to us that has not gotten Planning Commission approval, and then we got another case that did get Planning Commission approval and is coming to us. Seems like there should be some consistency there.
I agree, Cam.
I agree also, but as I understand it, there's no prerequisite for which commission a resident approaches first. So it's just.
That's true, and we met with the applicant, and this is the path they decided to take.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a chicken or the egg with the use and the design. So there isn't an established precedent.
But in considering what you've said, if we at this point defer to planning, I don't know whether that sets some precedent that we will have to deal with later.
Well, I mean, we can talk about precedent, but each case is a little bit different, and also it can depend on the timing of the month, right? Like,
yeah.
we met with them, our deadline was closer, and so they came here first. So I don't necessarily know.
I'd like to hear from the commission
decide everything.
about the idea of tabling this, perhaps, for all the reasons we've talked about, or the other option would be to go ahead and make a decision about the two structures.
I think it would be in the best interest of the applicant to table it. I mean, just reading the room, I think, the majority of commissioners don't have a problem with the design, they have a problem with the, site plan. So if we vote on it tonight and it's denied, you have to wait to come back. So I
Yes.
just feel like it's in your best interest to table it until after you go to the planning commission.
Yeah, and then that decision won't,
And if it gets approved, then you can come back.
What about you folks at home?
Yes.
I agree with that, assessment.
Yeah, I agree.
Sounds like there's a strong consensus. So is there a motion that we table this case number, help me here,
608.
608.
608? Is there a motion that we table case number 608?
I make the motion.
This motion, is there a second?
Second.
Camp seconds.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign? This case is tabled.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jack, I'd like to make one more comment, please.
Yes.
I want to support what Blair said. I think that was really important about taking back neighborhoods, that it is possible to do that in our community, that even though there are areas that have become heavily rental, it is possible with historic preservation and good mindful planning to reclaim certain neighborhoods in our community. And I don't think we should just give up because certain areas have become heavily rented. That's all.
Good point.
I agree, Camp. Blair, that was a good point, Blair.
Good
Very
point.
good.
And thank you, Blair, for buying your house and for being a leader to make those kind of things happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next case is, I just had cataract surgery. I
Case
should
number
explain to you.
611.
So I can't really
I'll
see
be glad to
anyhow.
help you. It's Jeff and
Public case number 611 for Jeff and Annette Rogers. Kate?
Okay, the applicant requests approval to build a new single-family home on the existing lot newly addressed as 1001 South 9th Street. Most of you should be familiar with this piece of property. It sits directly behind the Thompson House and the land that was subdivided there. We saw it a few times last year when they were proposing a development there, and now the lots are being sold individually for individual homes. And so this is the first one of those 5 lots. The new one-story building will be oriented towards South 9th Street and will sit directly behind the Jacob Thompson House, and you'll see that on the site plan. The construction of a one-story building is appropriate here to avoid overwhelming or overpowering the Thompson House. There was a little bit of question about the build-to line and where the house would be situated on the lot. You'll see that the site plan shows 94 feet back. And it was eventually settled with the planning department that setback is going to be 65 feet. So in the staff report, it says that's a question, and that's actually been figured out. The one-story house will be clad in painted brick with a slate-style shingle roof and aluminum-clad windows. All are materials that are appropriate for the building's location in the historic district in both style and material. And staff finds that the design of the proposed new building meets the recommendations of the guidelines. So, Frank?
Frank, if you would identify yourself for our minutes, please.
Frank Tyndall, representing Jeff and Annette Rogers, the South 9th property. And we have been working with the Planning Commission, and I think we're settled on the setbacks, and the particulars, I mean, you've already stated, but the elevation of the floor to the street will probably be about 5 feet below the street. Just the nature of the terrain. And one thing that's, I think more people might be interested in, there's on the northwest corner, there's some vegetation and some trees, and they'll be good at screening the garage doors, and we're interested in keeping that. We're gonna have to clean up and replant some of it, but the taller trees will stay, and pretty much that, unless y'all have some questions.
Is there a line of sight that would include this new house and the Thompson house at the same time?
The vegetation on that northwest corner, no.
Yeah, okay.
And the property, if I remember when I looked at it,
Way down.
It's
it goes
way below.
way down.
Yeah.
It's quite a few feet below.
Yeah.
And it also sits past that curve. where
Right.
you
Noticed
see the
the
Thompson
same
house and
thing.
the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I was wondering how you were gonna do this, Frank, because it does drop down a good bit.
Well, we're hoping to work with the people that are looking at the lot next to it as far as how much to fill, and, you know, where we don't have to have too many retaining walls.
What's the total number of lots in this area that the aldermen have Five. And Camp, this is the property that you mentioned a few minutes ago that the Board of Aldermen, no?
No, this is not, it's over at the Shaw property.
Oh, Shaw. Well, this,
It's the next one.
This also
Yeah.
did go to the mayor and board of aldermen,
but this property, a year or so ago, we did
Yeah,
see.
they were gonna do cookie cutter.
There was another
Yeah, it was called Cedar Bend. and it was
proposal, yeah,
more of a
okay.
Development.
Sure, thank you. We have the plans, and we have the architect, and we have the homeowners. Now's the time for questions or comments from commissioners, please.
I thought it was pretty straightforward.
I agree, Diane.
Yeah,
I agree with Diane. I think it's a beautiful design.
I beg your,
Say again, please.
I think it's a beautiful design. I agree with Diane.
yeah.
Straightforward.
Yeah, this is Blair, and I think it's beautiful too, and I was pleased to hear Frank mention that keeping trees and, you know, as much as that little forest feel is possible, but as a screen and just to preserve it is wonderful.
Frank, this is Lance. I might be speaking out of turn, but I really want to commend you on what you did to the Loveless, with the Loveless home, over there previously.
Thank you.
I concur with that.
Yeah,
I concur with that, too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Really, really nice job of preserving and
They're
adding
happy.
on. Well, are there any questions, any concerns that any commissioner might have? I agree with the other comments. I think it's a beautiful design, and look forward to seeing it. Is there a motion that we approve case number 611?
Lance, I move that we approve.
I second.
We have a motion.
Cam?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, great job on the house on 11th Street.
Thank you.
So nice. Next item on our agenda is case number 612, requested by Richard and Jane Cross to build a new house at 308 North 16th Street.
I need to recuse myself.
Virginia is recusing herself.
Okay, the applicant requests approval to build a new single-family home on the existing lot at 308 North 16th Street. There's an existing home on the lot to which no changes are proposed at this time. It's a non-contributing structure. The mayor and board of aldermen granted an appeal of a requested special exception for residential common interest development on the site, which allows another single-family residence to be built on the lot. The lot sits directly behind the Shaw House, and the private drive to access the existing and proposed new house is entered off of North 16th Street. The new building, a two-story residence with a footprint of 3,386 square feet, will not be highly visible due to its proposed location. Set at the end of a private drive and set back from its neighbors that front Jackson Avenue East and Jefferson Avenue, the house does not have any frontage or visibility from a public street. The house is traditional in design, with details that recall the symmetry and order of the colonial revival style popularized in the 1930s and that is still prominent today. The proposed materials: water-hardy siding, aluminum-clad wood windows and wood doors, a brick-clad foundation, and asphalt shingle roofing are all appropriate for the design of the house and in the context of the historic district. You'll note that the site plan does not address parking at this time, and the applicant may return to the commission later to request either a paving, the current drive is gravel, or a garage. And staff finds that the design of the proposed new building meets the recommendations of the Oxford Design Guidelines. So we're going to go ahead and discuss this case and have a vote on it, and then the applicant would also like to discuss the existing barn on the property, so we'll do that immediately after on a, not for a vote, on a complimentary review basis. So Jonathan Maddox is here to present.
Thank you again. I'm Jonathan Maddox with Howarth & Associates Architects. Kate's summary was pretty thorough, and I think probably addresses everything that I would like to say to you about the property. This property does have a second house on it, but both of these will be owner-occupied, and the existing house, which is where they are currently living, will be used as a guest house once their new main structure is built. Kate referenced the footprint size.
I'm sorry, let me interrupt you. The house they're living in now will become the guest house for the proposed new house?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The footprint is around 3,300 square feet, but the downstairs interior space is 2,850. Upstairs rounds it up to 4,500, which is comparable with the other structures. As it is now, the Shaw House is about 4,200 square feet. There are proposed structures in some of the other lots that are of this scale, and one that's been built that's now on the market that's over 6,000 square feet that's right here too. So we feel like we're comparable with what's happening around us, and as Kate said, we're really separated from all of the other development of the Shaw property.
Kind of similar question that I asked of the last case. Well, the line of vision, and it's mentioned, I think, in these notes, but what part, if any, of this house can you see from Jefferson Street?
From Jefferson, you can't see anything. You know, the Shaw House sits a good 10 plus feet above the street, and we're back behind the Shaw House by...
And from Jackson Avenue?
Right now, from Jackson Avenue, well, Jackson Avenue is actually what I was talking about, because that's the house.
Jackson would be the front of the
Did you ask me
Shaw
about
House.
Jefferson first? I was
You
thinking.
won't see it at all from Jackson.
You will not see, it's impossible to see it from Jackson, and that's where my, when you asked that question.
There's hardly any vantage point to see this house.
It actually might be somewhat visible from Jefferson, only right now because the trees are down.
Yeah.
Leaves are down, but in the wintertime, it's possible you could see it. In the summertime, absolutely not.
But I think importantly, it won't be in any view of the Shaw House from
That's right.
the front.
That's right.
Okay.
And even you don't see it once you turn in the driveway, so you can't see it from South 16th or Monroe either, because it's pretty far back.
Yeah. So the floor is open to commissioners to ask questions or make observations about this. And Kemp, this is the one that you mentioned earlier that the Board of Aldermen made a ruling that enabled this house to be built?
Well, they came before us for a complimentary review, so we, with the exception of the new commissioners, we have been briefed.
Good point.
On
That's
this.
true, and I think interesting to note that I don't think there was any any opposition from the commission.
There was not.
At that time.
Yeah, there was.
I read the minutes back of that
Yeah.
earlier today.
So for our two new commissioners, this conversation has to do with the fact that we have seen this structure before on a complimentary basis. They came to a commission meeting to get our thinking on the design of the house and
We did not see the house. It was just the concept of another
structure to be there, but
And the ability to have the guest house to live in while
Right.
they, and then they said the barn would be discussed at a later date.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And at that meeting, we found no problem with them going forward to deal with the zoning question.
It's a large lot, and it is one owner occupied.
Are there any comments from any commissioner?
Just a question on my part again, Jonathan. Are there any plans to spruce up the existing residence?
Yes, I think long-term, there are lots of things we've been talking about, because you drive past it to get to this new house. So we would like to improve on how it looks. Our focus at this point has been on getting them a new house built, because you know, the other house is small and they have young children. So we want to get the new one built, and then we can figure out what else we can do on the site. But ultimately, yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If not, is there a motion that we approve this request?
I so move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
A second, Jolie.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor of approving this signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? The motion passes. And now, Jonathan, I suppose, wants to talk to us about the barn, the existing barn, and
Yes.
what its future might be.
I'm anxious to hear this, Jonathan.
Do we need to hear some history? Kate gave me a little heads up.
I can, if you guys would like me. Either Jonathan can start or I can.
Well, I think the history of the barn, the age of the barn and so forth probably is
And I
relevant.
brought some images that I was hoping we could put on the overhead, just to show you.
And again, this is a complimentary presentation. We will not be voting on this structure tonight.
Right, and that's important. The applicant has not proposed anything at this time, but did want us to talk about the possibility of demolishing the barn. And so we just wanted to sort of get ahead of it. The only commissioner remaining from the 2014 discussion of this barn is Camp. I don't know, that's a long time back to remember. But so I contacted MDAH about the barn when Mr. Cross first brought this up, and they, at the time, in 2014, there was a site visit by MDAH and city planning staff about possibly nominating the Shaw House site as a whole to the National Register. So they did they didn't do a full-on historic resource survey, but they generated a report from that. And at that time, in 2014, the barn was noted to be in poor condition. It was described as a structure that faces west and has double doors. The roof appears to be in good condition. However, the walls on the south are gone, leaving the barn open to the elements. There is a loft which could not be accessed due to the large amount of trash in the building. The barn, estimated to be 1920 construction, retains sufficient integrity to contribute to the significance of the Shaw House, depending on the period of significance chosen for the house. So that barn is thought to be around a 1920 structure, and you'll recall that the Shaw House was built in the or circa 1860. We don't know the exact date, but the sort of antebellum Greek revival style that the Shaw House was popular from like the 1830s to the 1860s. And so in 2014, the developer who used to own this lot proposed demolition of that barn, a caretaker's building, and a couple of other things at a meeting. It was the meeting actually where they decided to restore the front porch on the Shaw House, where they were approved for that. And at that time, some of those accessory buildings were approved for demolition, and the commission requested that the barn remain. So that's why it's still there now. So I think the applicant was just hoping to get some clarity from the commission on if they would be allowed to demolish the barn. And I think Jonathan, I know he's had a couple people look at it, so I think Jonathan's gonna talk a little bit, and then we can answer any questions and maybe have a little bit of discussion about that.
Why don't we, before Jonathan does that, why don't we just kind of follow up on that commission decision in 2014? Camp, our senior member, do you, who seems to have a great memory, do you have anything more to contribute to the decision that was made by the commission in 2014 that protected this barn?
You know, I really don't, and I'm sure there's been considerable deterioration since 2014. Also, at that time, I think that was before the subdivision of the property occurred, and we were trying to keep the property intact as a historical site. We weren't successful for that, so I think the barn has lost some of its importance because the historical site has been subdivided.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jonathan.
Thank you. I want to just show you this barn. We didn't ask for a carport or garage structure because I'm still trying to figure out the best use for the barn, if it can serve in that capacity for this new house, or how we might fit a garage structure in there with that barn staying in place. It's a large structure. However, it isn't really suitable for a garage because of the dimensions of it. You could park one car in it, but not two, and they really need to be able to put two undercover. But more importantly, I'd like you to really look at it as I'm trying to figure out how to advise my clients on the best use for this. Even if we kept part of it, it's still a very large structure, so we're not quite sure what to do with it. And I'll show you how it's built. I'd like to walk away from the mic, or maybe just get you to flip through these. And, for some reason, I don't have a picture of the front of it, which is what you would see at the end of the driveway. But this is a picture that we'll be bringing up of the back.
Hey, Chris, can we switch to overhead? Thank you.
So I'm just looking for some feedback from you guys. Like, how do you think I can and should use this? So this is one of the four sides, although you can see in this picture that there is no south side in terms of siding, and the north side, which would be on your right, is very open to, it's a dirt floor structure. There are some concrete blocks, which are obviously not of the original age of the structure, that are attempting to hold up the sill plate, but that sill plate's completely rotten out and gone. As you see, that's the member that's sitting on top of the concrete block on the far
Do
right.
the concrete blocks go around the entire footprint of the building?
Only on most of the back and two long sides. They're not in the front. So let's look along. So now we've come around to that north side, looking back at where I was standing when I took that other picture. You'll see that it's open, and it may have been part of its function to be open. I'm not sure how that was used, but you can't appreciate this as much from the image, but that back corner is really leaning to the side. You'll see why that's probably true when I show you the inside. But if we were to use this for anything, where you would want your young children playing around it, we really would need to practically replace every board on the outside that's there and obviously put a lot in. So this is a picture inside. The structure that's holding this thing up are cedar posts. Mm-hmm. You're looking at a pretty nice one there in the foreground. I'll show you the one at the very end that's holding the end beam, which would be a very primary structural member, is there. That's a branch that's holding it up. And you can tell the condition of the loft, which is, Kate said they did not go up into, and I wouldn't, because there's just not a lot of structure holding it up. It's no longer full of trash. It's been cleaned out considerably, but it's still got a lot of stuff in it. Another view from the inside, where we're looking at that concrete block on the outside, just showing the poor condition of all the framing that's in there in the concrete block. So even if there was a scenario where we, had to keep this, we have to really almost replace every board that's there to make it sound and safe.
Exterior boards, you're speaking of.
Exterior boards and interior boards. I mean, the structure itself too. So this is a picture looking on the south side towards Jackson Avenue, where you would expect to see the sill beam and the concrete blocks that we saw on the north side, except that's not there. It's just sort of dirt. But this is a place where the wall would have been solid, it just isn't. More images of that center beam being held up by the cedar post and the fact that the framing all laps on it. There actually is some nice wood in there that you certainly could take that wood and do something with it that would be nice, as a tribute to it, maybe putting it in the main house or reworking it for here, but it needs to be taken down and put back, the bad parts cut off of it, etc. I took the picture on the right of the roof, really to show you how many holes are in the roof. That didn't read as well in the picture. You can see some of the light stars coming through it. But later, it sort of occurred to me, there's no ridge beam either, which is common for construction too. So that would certainly need to be added, which would mean, an alteration to that roof framing as well. So it's, it's just a mess. I'm sure it has deteriorated since 2014. The owners have only owned this property since the summer. So they haven't been responsible for the condition that it's in. And I don't remember whether I started by saying this, but I had a question along with Camp, is what is the significance of this structure now that it is no longer part of the parcel that contains the Shaw House? It's sort of making it relevant to this property is not, doesn't really hold the same kind of integrity as it would if it were part of the historic lot and other structures. All of the other structures that were demolished were actually on the parcel that still is the Shaw House parcel, because they're on the survey that I have, and none of them are there.
I think, though, the subdivision happened after. They didn't know those new lot lines at the time. So I'm kind of in a pickle, trying to figure out what to tell my client about what their options are for this building. If we try to use it, how we use it, if we are able to take it down so that they can put an appropriate garage in, and does that change how they might be able to use the site?
Did I read in the proposal that there is thinking of eventually building a separate garage?
Yes, we would like to build a garage for sure. As I was saying earlier, though, they're just anxious to get started on building this house, and we haven't yet really figured out how to deal with the cars and whether they could park in this barn or in a separate structure, or where that separate structure might be if the barn has to stay. Our thinking would be different if the barn wasn't there. So we just decided to postpone that portion of the thinking until the main house goes. None of this would really alter the way we would go forward with the main house, or even where we would put the main house. So,
well, unfortunately, it's really not worth much now, except for salvaging some of the wood.
Yes.
And of course, you're the architect. You can find a million things to do with the wood, a wine cellar, or, there are a lot of things. But if they're planning on doing a separate garage at some point, unless they did it between the guest house and the main house.
If you look at the site plan that I gave you, there is a dashed in footprint of a potential carport or garage location between the main house and the barn. Mm-hmm. But the real complicating factor about putting it there is just maneuverability, how you turn around and get out and all of that, because it's a tight spot.
Yeah, well, I love an old barn. I mean, this just tugs at my heart, but you don't need a guest house. You're building a residence. And that's no reason to get rid of a barn, but the condition that it's in warrants, you know, really taking it down. It's certainly not safe.
But for a 100-year-old barn, it's in pretty good shape. It's got a lot of good timbers.
Well,
It's
that
got
is-
the timber.
Other commissioners thinking about what might be the future of this barn?
I'll just share that I concur with where Jonathan's going with this and what Diane is saying, that I think the barn lost its significance when it was subdivided away from the Shaw House. Our original effort, like I say, was to preserve the entire site as a historic site, like we wanted to do with the Thompson House, but we are not able to do that. And so I don't think we should hold the Crosses responsible for that. They've got a great proposal here, and I feel like if the barn is no longer in really good shape, it's lost its significance and certainly worth doing away with now.
Thank you, Camp. Anybody else?
I agree, this is Pam. It makes me sad that, I think that Mr. Cross was with us, at the first meeting Joey and I attended, and spoke of how it's unsafe for children, and, you know, that would certainly tell that it's far gone.
So Richard Cross actually, that was Blair and Jolie's first meeting, that he came and kind of discussed the barn and thought it was unsafe for their kids. And I think Blair was agreeing.
I agree also with the other commissioners that safety first, and I also agree the benefit of saving some of the wood to use on the property, but not safe, that's not good.
You know, as long as we're just sort of daydreaming, I think that consideration could be given to using some of this wonderful old wood and timbers in a new garage that is built. It certainly would be a nod to the existence of the barn.
Sure.
Or in the house itself.
Pardon?
In the house itself.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, it's a landmark. There are not many downtown barns still in existence. So I would hope that whatever the homeowners decide to do, they would consider using these materials on the property.
Yeah, and they absolutely would. Richard and I had a conversation about that the other day when we were standing there saying, what are we going to do? And, you know, there's some of that loft flooring is pretty nice looking wood. It's not being held up comfortably enough, but it's, you know, it could be definitely milled and make floor, make some paneling, even a piece of furniture, or used even as perhaps in some way some siding on another structure.
Are there any commissioners that would disagree that there is a consensus that this commission in the future would probably grant a permission for demolition of this structure? Is that too convoluted a question that I just asked?
Yeah, I was getting ready to say what?
Yeah, no, is there, I mean, I hear a consensus that we don't think there's a viable future for this building. And if anybody disagrees with that, I'm asking them to speak now, please. Does that answer your question, Jonathan?
It does, thank you. So when you see me again about this, most likely because I'll be asking to put a parking structure up somewhere, I'll also have, as part of that, some idea about how we might best use salvageable materials so that you understand how it might be used.
Yeah, just those beams, you know.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, Jonathan?
Yes.
Hey, Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
Maybe you could take some of the timber from the old barn and use it on the existing residence over there and do something really awesome to spruce up that old, kind of 60s ranch house.
Yeah. The other house is definitely an anomaly stylized from everything else that's around it, so,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that would be good. I'd love to use it for all these things. There's honestly not gonna be that much great wood when we get it all down and trimmed off and milled, but yes, I think all these are great ideas, and I know that the Crosses will agree that trying to salvage and use this wood would be the right thing to do.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Is there any other business to come before our commission?
not today.
If not, I will recognize a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I hear a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. Next month
Bye-bye.
on